What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be talking about a video that I guess has been a yearly thing for the Chicago Bulls, and especially on this channel in the Bulls Show, and that is grading the Chicago Bulls players. Today we'll be looking at some of the older faces, some of the newer faces that we have seen on the Chicago Bulls team from last season to this season, the new faces coming in as well, and just giving them an overall grade on how I think their season went. Now again, I know a lot of people do like to criticize the grades, and of course, since it is such a broad topic of discussion, a lot of people will feel differently about their grades, which is why, and this is my favorite part about this video in all honesty, leave in the comments below your grades about the Chicago Bulls players. You might have completely different opinions to mine, and there is so much to get through that not everybody's going to agree with every single grade that I give, which I think is completely normal. So with all that being said, feel free to let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the grades and your own grades as well. And also do not forget to like and subscribe as well. Now also, from the players that were here previously, we will also move some of their grades over into this year as well. So you might get a previous stat on the screen as you see, and you'll also get the current grade as well in the same photo. I think that makes perfect sense. You can kind of get a different perspective on why I think they've had a better or a worse season and stuff of that nature. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. I will start off with Tony Bradley. I know a lot of people forgot that he was a Chicago Bull at one point this season, but lo and behold, Tony Bradley did play for the Chicago Bulls this season. I don't know his statistics behind it, but he had a significantly less role for the Chicago Bulls. He was basically a garbage time player. At least last season for the Chicago Bulls, when guys were injured, he was able to play a lot of games for the Bulls team. He didn't really do that this time around, did he? So the previous result for him was a C-. I actually just downgraded it to a D. I think he played enough for me to give him a grade, but also it was just such a less role that I don't feel like it was really any sort of upgrade whatsoever with Tony Bradley. He looked impressive from the games that we saw from him. For example, his mid-range was a lot better. His three-point shooting was a lot better as well as a player, which again, if another team wants to take a chance on him, feel free. But again, just his role was so diminished with the Chicago Bulls team, I don't think it was fair to keep him as the same score or a score above a C-. I thought a D was the right way to go. Looking at Terry Taylor, I'm actually going to give him an NA. One of the other things I'm going to do about a lot of the players is that if they have not played, last season when guys didn't play, I gave them an average C. I'm just going to give them a non-assessment. I'm not going to assess their grade when they really haven't given much to the Chicago Bulls team overall, or even the G League or anything in between. I don't think Terry Taylor has done that much since he's been here. He's played some good games towards the end of the season, but I don't want to put recency bias into giving him a higher score. I don't think there's enough information yet about Terry Taylor to determine a score. Let's move over into our rookie, ladies and gentlemen, Dalen Terry. What's very difficult about Dalen Terry is that since it is his first season with the Chicago Bulls, you kind of had to set the standards there, in my opinion. For example, Ayo Dosunmu last season, I gave him a B for his season because he defied expectations. Now, Dalen Terry was the 18th overall pick, and in my opinion, the Chicago Bulls did a horrible job with Dalen Terry, in all honesty, in the fact that he didn't get a lot of playing time. He was sent to our G League, and it's clearly a long-term experiment. You also have to take into consideration with Dalen Terry, he probably wasn't projected by many people to be within the 18th overall pick. I expected some people believe Dalen Terry would get selected later on in the draft, a late first or early second round pick. So the Bulls may have picked him slightly early. There are a couple of people, to be fair, that did suggest that Dalen Terry would be around this range, but it was a minority of people compared to the majority of people. So I think for the time that he's played with the Chicago Bulls, I think he has impressed. But again, I can't give him a B or a B plus like how I did for Ayo. It's because he doesn't have the same experience as Ayo. He didn't get to play as much as Ayo did in his first season, but he impressed me when he played. So I think the fair assessment for Dalen Terry is a C plus. Slightly above average for his first season, but again, limited opportunities, limited game time, and also for his first round protection, he should have played a lot more more than he did, and I guess that all plays a factor into why it's not a massive upgrade for Dalen Terry. So that is where his first season in my eyes was. Now what's next for Dalen Terry is to, I guess, break into that B category, or just to go above and beyond what his first season was, and that has to be the level for Ayo Dosunmu. That's what he needs to do in these next upcoming seasons. Carlik Jones, I'm going to give Carlik Jones, I will grade him, but to be fair, let's be real here. He didn't play much for the Chicago Bulls. So again, if you're looking at just the Chicago Bulls, I feel like, unfortunately, he didn't get to play a whole lot. He played a little bit, but I'm going to give him a C+, purely because he had a massive milestone in his NBA career, or in just his basketball career in general. He was the G League MVP. And that's the only reason I'm going to give him a grade, because I feel like an accomplishment like that, granted it's not in the NBA, it's still something that I feel like is very special for Carlik Jones, very special for the organization as well in the Windy City Bulls. So yeah, I think he did the entire organization proud in that moment, and that's why I'll give him a C+. But again, if we're being really realistic, his score would be an A as well, if he didn't really get that accomplishment, or if he didn't really have the incredible G League experience that he actually did. So that's my honest thoughts. Again, if you just don't want to grade him, that's up to you. Malcolm Hill, his previous result was a C, and again, I'm going to give him a non-assessed as well. I'm going to give him an NA, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't think Malcolm Hill played a whole lot, or if he did play a whole lot, I really don't remember much about it. So yeah, I think it's just a simple, I'm not really going to grade him. I don't feel like there is much to assess on the situation. Marcus Simonovic is the exact same score, ladies and gentlemen. Previously, I gave him a C. I'm going to give him an NA. I gave him a C because he didn't play last season, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I'm giving him an NA now because he didn't play for the Chicago Bulls this season, essentially. Garbage time, I don't know. I just felt like it just, even Tony Bradley got more minutes than him this season. I don't understand it. I don't know why he's here if you're not even going to give him chances. But it is what it is. He did make his first 3-point shot, I believe, this season for the Chicago Bulls. So congratulations to him on that. Derrick Jones Jr. Previously, I gave him a score of a C, and I'll be honest, his statistics do look worse this season, but his minutes for those, I guess, stats also went down. So I can't exactly expect him to get the 7 points or however much he actually averaged in this season as well, when he's playing a little bit less minutes. He's also a guy that he played more games, which is good, but he also was a guy that didn't really get to play because of other guys in the rotations. He wasn't the top priority. He was always a guy that had to come in case of an injury, or we needed energy, or we had to go small ball. These are where Derrick Jones Jr. played the bulk of his minutes. So I feel like it's only fair to say Derrick Jones Jr. once again had an average season. In terms of transition play and running out in transition, very similar to last season and how I saw it again this season. I thought Derrick Jones Jr. would be a lot further along in those areas because of how athletic he is. But again, the Bulls just don't run enough. And Derrick Jones Jr., unfortunately, I just don't think suits that system if we're not running. I think we see the best with Derrick Jones when he's able to run in transition, get those foul calls, catch those alley-oops. We don't let him fly anymore like he used to. It's just very, very unfortunate. But yeah, look, it is what it is. I think he's just overall had a very steady season, very similar to last season as well. Javonte Green. This one is a little bit of an interesting one because Javonte Green did suffer an injury that took him out long term for the Chicago Bulls. Once he came back to the Chicago Bulls team, his role was basically diminished in the team. He got very insignificant game time, basically no game time since he returned, which I think a lot of people expected. But previously, he was one of the guys that I was really, really impressed with because 2 seasons before, he averaged 2 points per game. Last season, or again, the season before this one, he averaged around 5 points or 7 points. I can't remember the stats, I apologize. But essentially, he's had a downgrade in his stats this season, which is something that, again, because of his minutes, is a big thing, but also because of the injuries is a big thing. But I gave Javonte Green previously a B. That's how much I valued Javonte Green's season last year. And unfortunately, he's not been a B player in my opinion for the Chicago Bulls this season. He's improved his 3-point percentage, which is nice, and that was something that he was very much focused on, but the injuries played a factor. His role towards the end of the season played a factor. I won't give him a significant drop off. I'm going to give him a C+. I feel like that was his level with the Chicago Bulls when he actually played, but injuries do play a factor, unfortunately. Again, it's just how it is, and that's why I think Javonte Green got a C+ overall, potentially a C for many people as well. That's just how I see it. Let's wait and see if he's even going to be a Chicago Bulls player next season. Patrick Beverley, a new face to the Chicago Bulls, played in the post, All-Star break period. Basically allowed us to get a 14-9 record in that post All-Star break. The Pat Bev effect was in effect for many people. A lot of people do really appreciate, how this team was able to change with Patrick Beverley here. He said it himself, in my opinion, and this is why I'm going to give him the score that I give him. He believes his level has not dropped off. And looking at his stats, his level has not dropped off. Yes, his actual points tally may have dropped off, but his assist tally for the Chicago Bulls has increased. So I think he's at the exact same level. He said it himself. He's on the same level as he has been with other teams. So is that a C? I'll be nice to Patrick Beverley and say, I think with his level with the Chicago Bulls and how he elevated as a team, I'm going to give him a C+. I feel like Patrick Beverley made us better, and therefore his ability to make us better deserves more than just an average score. I think he was slightly above his average, playing style in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls team. Moving into the next one, Goran Dragic, obviously a player that was waived from the Chicago Bulls. I believe he's on the Milwaukee Bucks team as we speak, and I'm going to give him an average C. Again, look, he had a very bad season last year, and he really very rarely played for the Chicago Bulls this season. I think he had a very good start to the season and a very poor end to the season for us, and again, it just is what it is. I think he's a C player. Andre Drummond. Again, another new face for the Chicago Bulls, our backup center. He's better than Tristan Thompson. I gave Tristan Thompson a C-, but with Andre Drummond, you expect him to be better just because his entire career, he has been a better player. The seasons prior, even in the recent seasons, he has been better than Tristan Thompson. It is as simple as that. But Andre Drummond, I believe in his last season, before he joined the Bulls, he had 23 minutes per game. This season, he's only averaged 14 minutes per game, which is a massive drop-off, and his stats because of that is a massive drop-off as well. I believe he averages 6 points and 6 rebounds, or 6.6 rebounds, something along those lines, which is incredible. An incredible drop-off from Andre Drummond, but you have to put into situations and into conversations why that is the case. Why did Andre Drummond get a massive drop-off for the Chicago Bulls when we needed a backup center compared to the other teams where he played massive minutes? Is that our coaching staff? Is that his ability to not really take that next step with the Chicago Bulls team? Did he not fit our system? I don't know what it is, but our role with Andre Drummond, or Andre Drummond's role, just really went down the drain throughout the season. So again, I know it's harsh, but I think it's only fair to give him a C-. I think if you ask Andre Drummond himself, did he have a fantastic season? I wouldn't necessarily think he would say he had a terrible season overall, but it's not been his best season, and therefore I think he's played below his average this season. Can he pick it up? Absolutely. And I really do hope he picks up his player option, even though I very much doubt it. But yeah, I would say C- is where Andre Drummond's level was at this season, unfortunately. Coby White is next. Coby is a guy that I think you're going to obviously predict is going to have the biggest increase in his score, which is absolutely fair. In Coby White's last season, I gave him a C- previously, which is astonishing to me considering the massive overhaul of how people perceive Coby White. His fan perception has been just truly phenomenal this season. And just the overall season he has had, it's just completely a night and day player. And I don't really understand, the score that I gave him personally. I just don't understand how things just change so rapidly within a season, I guess you could say. Now, scoring-wise for Coby White, he averaged more last season, but he also played more minutes, so that is expected. But if you look at the eye test for Coby White and some of his statistics defensively, I think he's been an improved playmaker, an improved defender, improved rebounder. just been very, very consistent towards the end of the season as well. I'm not gonna like say he's just been amazing and give him an A, right? As much as I'd love to do that for Coby White, because I am a big fan of him, I don't think that's fair to do. I think overall he's had a very good season. And I think good is around the B- to B rank. And I'm going to give him a B just to be nice, because his end to the season was phenomenal. Add recency bias a little bit into that. But at the start of the season as well, he was getting a lot less minutes. So he transformed his season from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. He became a guy that we didn't trust to play big minutes, only getting maybe 5 to 11 minutes per game, to a guy that's playing half an hour regularly for the Chicago Bulls and being huge on the team. So I would say a B overall. Fair play to Coby White on transforming his season. Patrick Williams. Previously, I gave him a C, but again, C was technically a non-assess for me, and that's because he averaged very similar stats, but the games weren't necessarily there for Patrick Williams to really be, I guess, a guy you could grade fully. This season, I do not want to ignore how improved his defense has been for the Chicago Bulls. I think this season has been his best defensive season for us, which is amazing to see. Offensively, he's taken small leaps as well, being a little bit more aggressive. His shot selection is a little bit more defined. He still misses a ridiculous amount of dunks, and I need to see that improve for Patrick Williams 100%. He has to make more. If he made more of his dunks, this guy would probably be averaging 12 points per game instead of the 10.4 points per game he was averaging. Again, I think it's that massive, the amount of dunks that he actually misses for this team. But nevertheless, I would put Patrick Williams around the range of a B- to a C+. Again, I think he's had a better season than the previous season. Obviously, playing 82 games is a massive thing for him, so I'm going to give him that extra benefit of putting him in a B- category, but he's around that mark. If you give him a C+, I completely understand that, but his defense leaps and bounds better, offensively slightly better, I would say, and being available for the team this season is a huge added bonus as well. I would give him a B-, but I understand if you give him a C+, I guess you could say. Ayo Dosunmu. This is upsetting to me, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Ayo is also going to be one of those guys that gets the massive downgrade. Obviously, his stats are very similar. His efficiency has dropped off. But for Ayo Dosunmu's first season, I gave him a B. Which again, it could be my mistake that I gave him a B, but if you think about it, his first season, second round pick, basically got no minutes at the beginning of the season, and then by the end of the season was trusted to be the starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls, was playmaking, was defending, was scoring, and was most definitely making an impact. So I felt like because of where he started to where he ended in his first season, it deserved a B. It was an amazing, incredible story. The story hasn't necessarily continued from this season as well, which is why the massive drop-off has happened. And now that we have the first season for Ayo Dosunmu there, and you can look at it, he's not had an average season to his standard. He had a very low, or I guess a little bit of a drop-off in his season. It's not a drop-off to the point where I'm giving him an F. It's a drop-off to the point where I think the correct score for him is a C-. I think a lot of people can understand that. But yeah, the reason why I'm giving him a C- is because if you look at the stats and you look at the eye test, Ayo Dosunmu has not necessarily dropped off to the point where he's unrecognizable, but his shot selection has been completely transformed, and of course his percentages have just massively dropped off as well, and that is why I'm giving him a C-. Nikola Vucevic. I gave him a D+ in his previous season, and it's a very similar thing with Nikola Vucevic, how I see Ayo Dosunmu. Now that we have that season there for Nikola Vucevic, his stats are very similar. He's still averaging around 17 points and 11 rebounds per game. That's just what he does. But the percentages and the efficiency of his game has increased dramatically. His shot selection has increased dramatically. He was much more in the post this season than last, which is what we all asked for. And therefore his 2% percentage increase and his 3-point percentage increased, I believe, as well. So I'm going from a D+ to a C+ for Nikola Vucevic. Again, it's not unrecognizable. I still wished he could have got the 20+ per game, which I think the big three need to do if you actually want to compete. All of them have to be in the 20+ range. But he's had a better season, so I think it's fair to give him a little bit of a better score. His efficiency, in my opinion, is the key there. Alex Caruso. Interesting in my opinion. So Alex Caruso's previous, I gave him a B+. And that's obviously because of the defensive capabilities. He's a fan favorite as well. He's a guy that I really admired for the Chicago Bulls last season. This season, I've been a little bit more frustrated with Alex Caruso, but a big positive, he has played much more games this season for the Bulls. His stats are not the same, in my opinion. He's had a drop-off in stats this season, but he's played more games. He obviously started at power forward for a lot of the season as well, which again, I don't necessarily think is something that you could always target towards him, but some games it worked, some games it didn't. I think in the playoffs, he was actually very big for the Chicago Bulls. I can't give him a B+ again, no. I don't think... I think at the end of the day, just because of my frustration throughout the season that I had with him that I didn't have last season, I think I'm going to give him a C+. That's how I view him, but his playoffs was big. And if you want to put him up to a B- or a B for that, I understand. But again, my frustration with him this season has been prevalent, and I can't just ignore that it has been there. So yeah, C+ for me for Alex Caruso compared to last season to this season. And yeah, it is what it is. Lonzo Ball, I gave him a B+ in his last season. Obviously, this season is going to be a non-assess. He didn't play. I think we can quickly move on from that one. Zach LaVine. My previous result for Zach LaVine was a B, and my reasoning behind that was because I don't think his season was as bad as people made it out to be. Obviously, he didn't have the contract that he does now as well. You've got to put a consideration into that. But he averaged around 24 points. He had injuries, stuff of that nature. This season, there are two reasons why I'm giving Zach LaVine a better grade. One, his stats are better this season. Ever so slightly. It's not again, I don't think it's record breaking, but the beginning of the season was terrible for Zach, in my opinion. The end of the season was truly magnificent for Zach LaVine towards the end. So that's how I view Zach LaVine's season. And two, he played 77 games this season for the Chicago Bulls. For a guy that's constantly considered injury prone and considered a guy that you can't rely on to play games, and of course had knee problems at the beginning of this season, to play 77 games, I think is a massive milestone for Zach LaVine. And if he can have 2 or 3 more seasons of playing 70+ games for this Bulls team, I think that narrative of an injury prone player or the guy you can't rely on to play games will hopefully be put to bed. But until then, B+ for me for Zach LaVine. He got an upgrade in my opinion. And DeMar DeRozan. Previously, I gave him an A. And again, I think he averaged around 28 points per game that season. He was in an MVP charge for most of the season, but towards the terrible end of the season, which took him away from that MVP charge. Obviously, he was one of the only guys that really showed up in the playoffs. I think he had a 41-point game in the Bulls win, which was amazing. This season, drop off, in my opinion. I don't think anyone can dispute that. I think he's averaging around 24, 25 points per game for the Chicago Bulls. His assist numbers are similar. His rebounding numbers are similar. Defensively, I think he got a little bit worse this year, but I don't know the stats behind that. And he just wasn't that clutch player. He was still one of the better clutch players in the league, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't the clutch player that he was last year. Last year, there was no disputing he was the best clutch player in the league. No one can make that argument. I think this season, people can make the argument about who's the clutchest player. And in my opinion, if you ask me, who's the clutchest player in the NBA this season, it's not DeMar DeRozan. I would lean more towards De'Aaron Fox than I would DeMar DeRozan. So that's my humble opinion on the situation. And I think he deserves the same grade as Zach LaVine. I'm giving him a B+. This is still one of his better seasons in his career, but not better than last season, not even close to the season he had last season, in my opinion. So B+ is where I'm giving DeMar DeRozan. And that's it for the Chicago Bulls. So many. Oh my goodness, there were so many. And if I did forget somebody, I sincerely apologize. I hope I didn't. I'm looking through the list, and I don't think I did miss anybody. But if I did, I apologize. And again, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be happy to give them a grade in the comments. But that is it for this video. I also tried to make it a little bit shorter because last time was half an hour. I know a lot of people don't like those half-an-hour videos. So that's it. That's where this video is going to end. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.